Okay, I would like to introduce Dr. Eric Bitterbaum, the president of Cortland, who would like to say a few words welcoming people to the conference.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, you know, it's usually when you have a conference, you always invite the president to come and say a few words. It's not necessary, but since I was invited, I came. So on behalf of everyone here at the college, I want to welcome you. We're very excited. Amy Berg, who's our Associate Provost for Information Resources, pointed out to me that the last time we hosted this was 20 years ago in 1998, so quite a long time. So we hope you'll come back in another 20 years. If you need anything, we're here to provide assistance to you. A lot of Amy's teams have on this T-shirt that says staff and SUNY Cortland. So please don't hesitate to ask for assistance. I also want to thank our information resource team. There are some 85 of them in between Amy's team and the library, and they do a marvelous job here on campus. So I hope you have a chance to walk around and see everything. So I have to begin by telling you that I love technology. To me, it's changing the world mostly for the better. And whether we want it or not, there is an educational technology tsunami coming at us. And you are the most dynamic people who have to deal with it. If something goes wrong on a college campus, the systems go down, everybody freaks out, and you're on the cutting edge trying to figure out what's going wrong. But this tsunami is coming, and it's not going to be held back. It's interesting to me, I was reading something just last week. This is the 50th anniversary. So in 1986, at the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor, the very first PhD dissertation was entirely done on a computer. It was edited, it was written, it was paginated, and it went over to microfilm, which they do. When I think about that event, 15 years later, I had the opportunity to use a computer to write my dissertation, and it was extraordinarily liberating. I actually wrote a grant a few years later as an assistant provost, and it was called Writing with Computers. And but it was incredibly liberating. You could move paragraphs around, you could edit, and it turns out that of the faculty at this college that I was working at in Lincoln, Nebraska, it turns out that they found it incredibly liberating. And they were on the forefront of getting more and more computers, and it really changed our lives. The one thing I will mention, though, is that when I was working on a computer to actually type my dissertation, that I still had to use punch cards. Some of you who are younger than I may not know what a punch card is, but there were these huge machines, and you had to go to an office, a computer center, and punch these cards. And if you had one mistake, you had to start all over again. So anyone who's 65, my age and over, they will know how traumatic it was. I actually kept a whole bunch of these, and I've shown them to my 30-year-old son and my 27-year-old daughter, and they say, "Dad, what is this? And what do you do with it?" And I try to explain, and my son says, "My God, you lived in the dark ages. You can do so much." He can do it on his phone, his analysis. It's extraordinary. So I will share with you some of the exciting things that I think that we have so many opportunities that you're going to assist us with. We have a faculty member here, Craig Little, who's a sociologist, who taught a course, and it was 3 different universities. It was online. It was here at SUNY Cortland. It was at the University of Kiev in the Ukraine, and it was at Griffith University in Australia. It was extraordinary how the students interacted with each other. It was a course in criminology. There were different perspectives. It was such an enriching class for those students. I'd like to see that over and over again. Our foreign language students or modern language students, the ability to speak with a French student or a German student. We have a program in Azerbaijan at Azerbaijan Foreign Language University. The world it's incredible, and you guys have to make it work for us, and that's why I think it's so exciting. I'm very pleased that the governor just recently, for the second time, made $8 million available for open educational resources, and you know, we need that kind of assistance. So I don't know what the future holds, whether it's virtual reality or it's artificial intelligence. Obviously, the cloud now we just take for granted, and video conferencing. So for me, I still teach one course. I'm a biologist by training. And so Wiley, I happen to notice, is here. I use one of their textbooks. And so when I'm teaching, things come alive for me because I can show how a lipid moves across a membrane by going to their website and using video, really illustrate to my students how things work. And this is what they want. This is their expectation, and it's very, very exciting for us. The one thing that was really interesting is last week I was contacted by someone who's very upset that our campus may use facial recognition software. They think that's Big Brother, but that's coming. And so there are ethical issues that we will have to deal with, and we'll need your help as well. By the way, I gave permission for facial recognition software to be used by our police. So this is what I find exciting. A recent survey of educators across the United States said that 81% agree that incorporating technology into the classroom increases student engagement and improves collaboration. And I like data, so that's very exciting to me. There is a downside that I think we need your help with, and that is the world of cyberbullying. And I'll give you an example. As the president, I only have one email address. Several presidents at big universities have 3 or 4, so people can't contact them. But these are the things that I have to deal with. Dr. Bitterbaum, I just ate in the cafeteria, and my steak was undercooked. You need to look into it. Dr. Bitterbaum, I got a parking ticket. Can you erase it? And I won't mention the faculty. But what I will share with you is that through social media, we are in constant regard with each other, and you've got to help us. There is a lot of upside besides cyberbullying. What I love about this generation of students, they're not a religious generation, but they're a very spiritual generation. Using their cell phones, they don't let anybody eat alone, they stay in touch with each other, they care about each other. So this technology is doing so much for us. So what does the future hold? I don't really know, and I don't think you know. And I think together we're going to have to plot this fascinating new strategy that I get to look at sometime in retirement. So thank you very much, and welcome.
When I wrote my dissertation, I did it on a Commodore 64, but my graduate program would not accept things that were printed on computers, so I bought a typewriter and an RS-232 interface and connected it. I had to write the printer driver for it, so we've come a long way since then. Okay, I'd like to introduce Dr. Grace Wong. Dr. Grace Wong has passions in science, research, and student success. She puts these to good use at SUNY. Dr. Wong was named interim provost. Are we seeing a video from the chancellor first? Okay, so I would like to introduce our chancellor. I'm sorry.
Good morning. I'm Christina Johnson, Chancellor of the State University of New York, and welcome to the 2018 Conference on Instruction and Technology. We know SUNY is the largest comprehensive system of higher education in the country, and your hard work keeps us ahead of fundamental changes in technology and pedagogy so we can also be the best. Micro-credentials and open education resources respond to students who may need a specialized certificate for work or who cannot afford textbooks. The Open SUNY platform lets students learn without ever stepping foot in a classroom. so we can educate more people and scale up sustainably without a campus needing to increase its carbon footprint. And the innovative instruction technology grants have seeded programs that advance our understanding of education and keep us current with ever-evolving students. Congratulations to this year's grant recipients. Your work today will lead to tomorrow's innovations. If we want to be the best, we need to find solutions to better track student success, lessen the barriers to a degree, and improve learning outcomes. These are the ultimate metrics for the success of our schools. And I know with your expertise, SUNY can be a leader for our peers in higher education. Thank you for your work and for your dedication to our students.
Okay, now I would like to introduce Provost Grace Wong. She's been very active in fostering academic excellence across the system and ensuring that the system is, that education is accessible for all. That in addition to her interim provost role, she serves as a vice chancellor for research and economic development, where she plays a lead role in designing, directing, and expanding the footprint of SUNY's research, graduate education, industry relations, and economic development activities. In both capacities, she strives to enable pathways for student success and success in research, providing a vision and strategic directions for both. Before her arrival at SUNY, she served as acting assistant director for engineering at the National Science Foundation, where she led the engineering directorate, managing a funding portfolio of over $900 million dedicated to investments in frontier engineering research, supporting engineering education, and fostering innovation and technology commercialization. She joined NSF in June 2009 as program director for the SBIR, STTR program, focusing on investing in small businesses in the areas of nanotechnology, advanced materials, and manufacturing. One fun fact about Dr. Wong is that she holds 7 US patents. She earned her PhD in material science and engineering from Northwestern University. Welcome, Dr. Wong.
Well, thank you, Professor John King, for that wonderful introduction. It was actually funny, President Eric Biederbaum talking about the punch card story. So actually, I want to ask you guys a question. How many of you know the slide rule, have ever seen a slide rule? Oh, you guys are amazing. Okay. So when I was interviewed for my former job, the National Science Foundation, so they brought me to dinner the night before my interview. It was a food interview, so they said, we sit down for the dinner, and so they said, we need to ask you 2 questions. I said, okay. So they said, the first question is, do you know what is punch card? And I never seen one. So, and then they said, the second question is, what is a slide rule? So I failed both questions, and so they said, I was the first candidate who failed both questions and still got a job. So that's how fast then I went back. Actually, I was asking my father, and it turned out to be I actually only missed the slide rule time for, I don't know how long, but it was there, and he did have one. So now I have that one. It is, and I'm learning how to use them. So it's a great pleasure to be here. I want to talk to you a little bit about individualized education and also the Chancellor's vision for SUNY as we move forward in the 21st century, and how do we gain the overall competency as a university. And many of you probably heard the Chancellor gave her very first state university this is inaugural state university system address, SODAS. And so this was back in January, and so she formulated 4 themes for SUNY moving forward. The first one is innovation and entrepreneurship. The second one is individualized education. The third is energy and sustainability. The fourth is partnerships. So for innovation and entrepreneurship, what the chancellor means is everywhere in our university, we should look at how do we innovate and how do we encourage entrepreneurial activities. And this has to be, it's not only sponsored research programs, it also covers everything, everywhere that we can leverage the resources, like Carrie Hatch is leading the open educational resources. Everywhere we can get external funding, the state funding, federal funding, the nonprofit foundations funding to help us in terms of conducting research, applied learning, and exploring new learning models. Anything we want to do is covered in there. And that's why the chancellor was very careful not to use the word research, because that's limit the first theme. So really focusing on innovation and entrepreneurship for the university. And the second one is the most relevant theme for today's group and also this conference's topics is individualized education. And I will explain that in a little bit. And then the third theme is energy and sustainability. So this theme has basically two facets. One is what can we do in terms of clean energy and environmental sustainability in terms of research, education, workforce development? How do we prepare ourselves for the future solutions in terms of improving the building efficiency and also prepare our students for such a future. So that is one facet of the energy and the sustainability. So another aspect of that is we, as a university, as 64 campuses university, what can we do to reduce energy consumption? And what can we do to improve the energy efficiency of our own buildings? And what can we do to source the energy so that we can cultivate this environmental sustainable culture across our campuses? So that is the energy and sustainability. And the fourth one is partnership. And you can imagine the partnerships theme supported all other three because we need to build partnerships internally among our campuses and also externally between our campuses and all the other stakeholders. How do we build those strategic partnerships to support the other three themes? So these are the four themes the chancellor has formulated for the university as we move forward. And so let me focus on individualized education. So what the chancellor means about individualized education is how do we make sure we can allow our students the flexibility and the capability to learn on their own terms and at their own pace, so that, and also it's regardless of their background and also the resources available to them. And this is a tall order. If you think about this, I had a great, lively discussion yesterday with distinguished faculty members yesterday at Albany. And so we were talking about what we can do in the future. If you think about the education that we have, if you look at the history of SUNY, we are very proud of what we can offer to our students. So first thing is, if you look at the first layer is, we as a faculty and the staff, we need to make sure that we provide the curriculum that actually has the scope and also the breadth that cover all the interests we want to serve our students. And they also need to be very high quality. And this is what we have today. SUNY has about 7,000 degree programs and 4,345 undergraduate degree programs. And right now, just last academic year, we have 58,000 active courses. And actually, if you include the courses that are all available, is way above this number. And so we have it took many, many years to come this far that actually we can provide this kind of broad capacity of learning to our students. But the question today is, how can we help our students navigate through this ocean of the options? And this could be daunting for any students to look at this and thinking, what it could be, what do I want to do? What degree program I want to go will be the best for me, and what courses I should take, which one is going to have financial aid, which one shouldn't. So it's actually quite something here, and that requires technology. And today we can do this. But the question is, how do we do this in scale? And so another aspect of the education is, how do we make sure the education is affordable and accessible? And so we talk about this for many years here at the SUNY, about affordability of the higher education. And this is where we are today, and we all should be very proud of where we are. In fall 2017, about 131,000 SUNY students received Pell Grant, and I roughly tell you actually how many of our students are from low-income families. And this is roughly a third of our full-time students. And 11,000 students enrolled in the EOP programs. And in the 2016 and 17 academic year, about 42% of all matriculated undergraduate students in fall 2016 received a federal loan. And that's a very high percentage. And about 105,000 SUNY students were offered a TAP grant. And about 50% of the SUNY students can graduate debt-free. And so that has been a quite accomplishment over years. And so that is where we are today in terms of education. If you think about, has two dimensions right now, is the curriculum we have, the scope and breadth of the curriculum, and also how affordable and accessible they are. So, but that is not enough. And what Chancellor means by individualized education is, what can we do to bring in excellence into this, and how do we offer the most well-rounded, high-quality education to our students? And so you think about the future of the learning. Just give you an example here. This is when I was visiting SUNY Polytech, and actually I was in that classroom, and they showed me how they are teaching their students, and this is no longer a traditional classroom. Is one person sitting at a podium and everybody is listening. Is actually a very interactive. The gentleman standing there is the faculty. And so he was teaching the students how to use a virtual reality tool to design the game. And these games are not only for entertainment, it could be used for disease treatment also, for autism and other treatment. So that is the classroom is changing. Is becoming a lot more interactive. And also the classroom is no longer just a classroom. It's really more accurately should be called learning space. Because this is actually the SUNY New Paltz's maker space, and students were using 3D printing to print their art design. And this is clearly foster the creativity for the students. If they conceptualize a design, they can actually see it and go back and redesign, and it helps them to quickly conceptualize what kind of design they can have. So the reason here I want to show this here is the classroom is no longer just in the classroom. It's changing into a much more engaging, much more dynamic and fun learning space. It could be everywhere. And with the mobile devices and all the connections we have with the internet, and also between the among the students themselves, we are talking about the future of learning that's much more interactive between the students and the faculty, and also among themselves, much more engaged. And also, we are talking about more real-time, affordable access of the knowledge. This is not only because of the availability of the internet, it's also because of how actually we can innovate the curriculum materials, what we can offer. And that's why what Carrie is leading on the open educational resources. When we talk about this, it's really not only about the textbook savings. It's very, very important. The textbook is expensive, and it's a great saving mechanism for our students. But way beyond that, with the open educational resources, we provide a platform for our faculty to innovate. You can update the curriculum materials as soon as you can, and also it has a lot of potential to be a lot more interactive with the students. And so you can use multimedia for the open educational resources as we move forward. And also, we offered more capacity to be a lot more creative, just like the 3D printing and all the other tools we can offer to our students. And of course, among all the students, just the peer-to-peer learning is going to be a lot more collaborative, and research show the peer-to-peer learning is actually a lot more effective than lecturing. And so with this kind of a future learning environment, if you think about what do we mean now, if we think about this as three-dimensional individualized education we want to provide to our students in the decades to come, what does that mean to academic technologies? If you think about academic technologies, it really has been infused into every single area that we work in the higher education. And so from the very bottom is really for us, for us in the administration, what kind of infrastructure and tools we can provide to our staff and faculty, and this including all the way from recruitment. What kind of a platform we can invest in recruitment to classroom scheduling, to the data management and reporting, everything we do, and also how do we utilize predictive learning to figure out, not predictive learning, predictive model, so that we can figure out how do we strategically recruit and and how do we make sure we can improve our yield in enrollment. And so the next layer is closer to the students, is outside the classroom. What can we do to use the technologies to provide academic advisement, complement to the personal academic advisement, and also how do we utilize these tools to help our students for academic planning and improve the student achievements. And so that is why the system has been investing in the tools like degree works, transfer funders, cross-registration. All of this technology platforms are really there to help us reduce the day-to-day repetitive works and focusing on how do we provide these tools so that our students can utilize these tools to navigate through all these options. And then the third layer, the highest layer, is where we actually really directly touching the students, is what kind of instructional technologies and future learning spaces we can offer to our students. And so this is including all the way from online learning and also to the classroom technologies we can offer to our students. And so if you think about these three layers, this is really going to take a long time for us as a group, as a team, to figure out how do we get there, but this is really the core to enable the future of the individualized education. And I want to emphasize here that when I was meeting with the Faculty Senate on April 20th at the University of Buffalo, I think one of the faculty senators asked me a question. He said, how could you do this? This is basically automated everything, and then the students will not have a chance to interact with people. That's really not true. So today, we do not have enough capacity to provide really the high quality and much needed academic advisement to our students. If you think about for 500,000 full-time students we have, and if you really want to make sure each and every one of them actually feel that their needs has been particularly met, and they exactly know what kind of academic planning that needs to be done for them, how many academic advisors we must have across the SUNY. There's no way we can have that kind of resources to meet this kind of need. So we must use technology. But the technology here is not to replace our academic advisors or anyone. The technology here is really to complement and make sure our faculty and staff will be a lot more productive and effective in serving our faculty and students. And so let me use today's opportunity just to focus on one thing here, just dive into online learning in the and under the big umbrella of individualized education. So this is the national online learning trends, and from 2012 to 2016 for the students taking distance education courses, and you can see both on the students exclusively using distance education, and also just use that as complementary courses for campus learning, is you can see in the last 5 years, it has been gradually increasing, and it's very persistently increasing. So I wouldn't say that the world is dramatically changing. Everybody is running out of the campus and trying to take online learning at their home, and that's not the case. But the thing is, we need to look at this in decades. If you think about roughly about 1 to 2% increase per year. If you look at year to year, it's almost in the noise level. It's hard to argue that's statistically important. But in 10 years, it means 10 to 20%. And in 20 years, you do the math. So that is the number, and that is our future. It's a trend. It's a slow trend, but it's a trend that cannot be ignored. And here is where we are. So SUNY has come a long way, has been very successful in online learning, but we have a long way to go. You see, in terms of exclusive distance education, the SUNY has 6% of students taking exclusive distance education in fall 2016, and the national public institutions, the average is 11%. I want to emphasize here is we know that as a matter of fact, and Kim is nodding there, is our number is underreported. And so that actually is one of our challenges, the data reporting in online learning. But even with underreporting, I'll say that this shows that we have tremendous opportunities to improve. And the number for the national public institutions being so high is because there are leading institutions, probably 5 or 6 of them, or maximum 10 of them, have been taking dramatic steps moving towards online education, and they are taking a lot or share. And for us is practically here, sitting in the state of New York, someone is eating our lunch. And so or breakfast, whatever you like. And so, but we have to move forward in this. And so that's why this should be one of the things that we need to focus. And I'll share with you why I mentioned this. We need your help. And then for students who take some distance education, you can see same thing here. We need to take steps to make sure that we not only catch up but also lead in this space. And so what we have today, and that's why I said SUNY has been very successful in this, even with the number lower than the national average. I think we have done a fantastic job to lay the groundwork for online learning. So today, out of the 7,000 degree programs SUNY has, about 1,100 of them actually can offer distance education. That doesn't mean they are offering, but they actually can. And we have, in academic year 2016 and 17, we have 22,000 online course sections, and the registration is 382,000 registration. So it's actually quite high numbers, and that is a great base for us to start expanding online learning. And 177 students in last academic year has took at least one online course, and about 6,100 faculty have been involved in online learning in last academic year. So this means we have faculty who understand how to do this. We have a quality control in place. We understand how to train our faculty. Our students actually have been using this, so all we need to do is increase the number. How do we scale up this? And so here is our challenge. And here's where we need your help and advice, is we have so many options. This is actually today is holding us back. But if you look at this carefully, it's actually our most unique and valuable edge is SUNY has such a large pool of courses available to our students, and also such a large pool of degree programs. But the reason I said today is holding us back is it's so difficult to navigate through. If you go online, go to the Open SUNY, you go to our website, if you look at that, it's very difficult to figure out what you want to take, particularly to put yourself into the shoes of 18 years old. Trying to figure out where to go, what classes to take is daunting. And so how do we make sure that we can make this simple? So we need a platform. We need a platform that actually the students can go there and can quickly, the platform just saying, hey, I want to learn microbiology, and here's the things, and here's where is my home institution. Yes, I have financial need, and then it will actually come up with a plan. Just like a degree works can give an academic plan, the open learning, the online learning platform should be able to do that also. And essentially and eventually, we want to make sure the students log in outside SUNY should be absolutely agnostic from which campus they are taking the online courses. They should be only know that they are taking courses from SUNY. So that means that we need to figure out how do we provide course equivalency for the online courses. And that is non-trivial. I know it's non-trivial. I know I heard someone told me that that's an impossible task. And a lot of impossible things have happened, including the internet. You remember actually I was reading an article a long time ago. It was talking about the people, even back in 1980s, if you think about that, it was actually not that many years ago. And back in 1980s, there were companies do not know what are they going to do with this thing called internet. And today, that's a joke. I mean, if you are as a Fortune 500 companies don't know what to do with the internet, that is not going to be anything close to be the reality. But in 1980s, people were gauging if this is just someone like just a hack or something. So it is, this kind of things, when we think about it, it's impossible. Nothing is impossible. Everything is possible as long as we are persistent. And you think about the technology we have today in artificial intelligence and machine learning actually can help us set the base of the course equivalency, but fundamentally, the course equivalency has to be determined by the faculty. And so we need to define a process. And Carrie and I were sharing with John about what we are thinking here. If we must define a process, define the role of the faculty, figuring out how frequently we want to refresh this online course equivalency, and what do we mean by equivalency? What's the definition of that? And how many should we do? Do we need to do every single one of them? So now we say we have 1,100 of them actually can offer online learning, but it doesn't mean all 1,100 of them has very high number of enrollment. How can we be strategic, and where can we start? And how do we develop a software platform on top of that to support this course equivalency? And then how do we sharpen our brand? We clearly have the capacity, we clearly have the quality. How do we make sure we put forward some efforts to make sure that we have the marketing efforts in there? And then how do we streamline our data reporting and online learning? And so that we can really deeply look at the outcome so that we can come back and make sure we design the best course materials moving forward. So these are the ask. This is really moving forward. If we want to expand the online learning, we need to look at this infrastructure, the fundamentals. What else can we do? And so that's actually all I have. And so before I close, I just want to say thank you so much for your efforts. I know you work on a lot of things for the system provost office, and we have been really been greatly benefited from your efforts and expertise in many, many areas. I know we have been asking you to help us on the implementation of micro-credentials in digital badging, in how to figure out the digital transcript, and also in online learning, in open educational resources. So thank you so much for your efforts. And I think you so far, you will find out, you already know that this is absolutely the Chancellor's focus in education. So moving forward, your leadership and your efforts and your engagement in the FACS2 Council will be greatly appreciated. So thank you so much for your time.
Now it's time for the FACT2 Awards. John Zelenik has been shepherding that since it started, and he will continue doing that next year, but next year he has some assistants. Janet Nepke, who was the chair of the FACT2 Council when the awards were created, will be working with John next year. So I'd like to welcome her to assist John as well. Janet? Okay, John, if you'd like to. Oh, I'm sorry.
So hello again. So we will go with the awards first? Okay. Okay, great. Okay, yeah. So this is the 4th year of the FACT2 Awards, and our winners this year are also, again, outstanding. So these awards have been designed to recognize faculty and instructional support staff who has been successfully using technology in teaching and learning. So you may already know some of our colleagues I'm about to introduce, but if you don't, I strongly encourage you to get to know them during this conference because they have done some really amazing work across the SUNY campuses, and they are willing to share their best practices and also their success recipes with you. So please try to use today's opportunity and also tomorrow's to get to know them. And this year, the FACT2 Award for Excellence in Instruction at a Community College goes to Dr. Kun Hee Pang, Assistant Professor in the History of Art Department at Fashion Institute of Technology. Dr. Pan was nominated for unparalleled use of and advocacy for technology in teaching and learning that includes 2 innovative instructional technology grants and as a campus-wide example of success with SUNY Collaborative Online International Learning. So please welcome Dr. Pan to the stage. So our next awardee, the FACT2 Award for Excellence in Instructional Support at a Community College goes to the Instructional Development Team at Monroe Community College, and the team is Tom Capuano, Jeremy Case, Andrea Gilbert, Martha Kando, Andrea Kingston,
Anjali Paris-Nice-Sarma, and Alice Wilson. Thank you. Please come to the stage. Wow, clearly has been amazing. So this team, wow, that's impressive. So this team was nominated for being the village it takes to work with instructors to develop online courses and programs, specifically in areas such as OER adoption, multimedia production, and accessibility. Thank you, Tom, Jeremy, Andrea, Martha, Andrea Kingston, Anjali, and Alice. Thank you so much. So the Fact 2 Award for Excellence in Instruction at the state-operated and statutory colleges is awarded to Dr. Anurag Purvar, Associate Professor in the Mechanical Engineering Department at Stony Brook University. Dr. Purvar was nominated for his work in transforming traditional lecture classes for Mechanical Engineering 101 into an engaging, hands-on learning experience supported by the rich online resources and rebranding it as a freshman innovation course. So thank you, and Dr. Purvar. This is actually first time I met with Dr. Purvar. The reason I was chatting with him is Dr. Purvar's innovation. It really goes beyond just online learning. He actually invented a device that can help the elders to move from a sitting position to stand up, and that device is in manufacturing now. And the SUNY has been providing seed funding to commercialize that technology. And congratulations. So the Fact 2 Award for Excellence in Instructional Support at a state-operated and a statutory campus goes to Ms. Julie Pavel, a courseware programmer at Cornell University College of Veterinary Medicine. So Julie was nominated for her work providing online training and diagnosis resources that have not only improved the learning of the students at Cornell, but also teaching these students easier and also making the teaching of these students easier and also more rewarding for their faculty. It's an international resource for students and also the practitioners across the world. So please welcome Ms. Julie Pavel. So with that, thank you again for all the winners, and please join me to give them a warm round of applause for their accomplishments. Yeah. And also the award winners in the next few days, will be presenting their work tomorrow at the recognition luncheon, and also they will be happy to answer any questions you may have. And so again, I strongly encourage you to network with them and try to learn their excellent work and also help to bring these best practices and success across the SUNY campuses. So thank you very much. Yeah. And we're not done yet, so we have a surprise. So when the Faculty Advisory Council on Teaching and Technology was first formed under a different name in the early 80s, it was clear that SUNY has created a platform to connect a broad group of very energetic faculty and staff to innovate in academic technologies. And so we have been very fortunate to have a strong group of very dedicated leaders to connect the grassroots campus efforts with the Office of the System Provost and also many of my very dedicated colleagues at the system administration so that we can align our education strategies with our efforts in academic technologies. And so most recently, Professor John Keane from SUNY Oswego has been leading this charge as the Fact 2 Council Chair. And as his 2-year term comes to an end, I would like to say a few words about the impact John has made in leading the council. So the synergy between Professor John Keane's service as the chair of the council and all that he has done back in his home campus at Oswego has been just remarkable. In addition to serving as the chair, John is also the director of Oswego's Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching Center, and he's also the Applied Mathematical Economic Program Coordinator, and he's also the Honors Economic Program Advisor, and he also co-hosts a podcast called T for Teaching. That was impressive. Yeah, with his colleagues, Rebecca Moschteyer, and they have been hosting this for a while, and they brought a lot of innovators from around the country who have been invited to share their thoughts in these very informal discussions, but very insightful and stimulating discussions. So the council has been particularly effective in their use of short-term task groups to investigate how we might collectively be more innovative to improve teaching and learning with technology. And under John's leadership, the Fact 2 Council has supported the work of 4 task groups, including micro-credentialing task group, the task groups on special needs students, the task groups on mixed realities, and the task group on transformation in education. So John has long been a supporter of the Conference on Instruction and Technology, and prior to becoming the chair of the council, he served as the leader of the Fact 2 task group on mobile learning and has served as a member of the Innovative Instruction Research Council, which makes funding recommendations to my office, or more accurately to Carrie Hatch. Yeah, so you would think he would relish some time off during the summer months, but for more than 30 years, John has spent his summers teaching young learners about macro and microeconomics as part of the Duke University Talent Identification Program. He's now even teaching second-generation students of that program. And so Jeffrey Riemann, the incoming chair of the council, has shared with us that John is also an accomplished musician who has nearly the encyclopedia knowledge of the rock and roll. Gee, that's amazing. That's exactly the opposite of my knowledge in there. So if you are playing any trivia game or anything like that, make sure you get John into your team. So what remarkable accomplishment you have made, John, and congratulations for those accomplishments. And with that, and also thank you for your service as the chair of the Fact 2 Council, we would like to present you the plaque. Yeah. Thank you. Congratulations. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So this is, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Wow. So it's a State University of New York Faculty Advisory Council on Teaching and Technology Meritorious Service Award to Dr. John Keane, Fact 2 Chair, in recognition of his dedication to the mission of the SUNY Faculty Advisory Council on Teaching and Technology. It's with deep gratitude that we celebrate your leadership, integrity, and deeply held commitment to excellence in public higher education that represent this award. Your efforts will continue to resonate in the years to come. May 30th, 2018. Congratulations, John.
Okay, that was a surprise. Okay, now I'd like to remind everybody that lunch will be at the Corey Union Function Room where the welcome reception was. I'm sorry. For Fact 2 representatives, lunch will be in the Corey Function Room where the welcome reception was. For everybody else who's not the campus rep or a member of the council, lunch will be in the new big hall where breakfast was. And I'm also supposed to remind everyone that the professional headshots are going to be available at the vendor location. And please make sure you visit the vendors. We have a very large number of vendors who've done a wonderful job in supporting the conference. And are there any other announcements? Nancy? Oh, and yes, make sure you download the Attendee app. It's wonderful. You can share contacts with each other. You can send tweets out with it. It's a big improvement over the app that we've used in the past. So take advantage of it. You can create your own schedule, add things to your calendar, get reminders so you remember where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be saying if you look at the app and so forth. So thank you. Thank you all for coming, and I look forward to seeing you through the rest of the conference. Before we go, one last thing I should note is Barbara Oakley is here with us. We'll be seeing her throughout the conference, so stop by and say hello. She's our keynote speaker, and we'll see a lot more of her tomorrow.